So this is the one where the fifth diary of me getting my new job. So the current job that I'm in now. Before that I had worked in the emergency department in one of the city hospitals. I'd been there for nearly 10 years, 9.5 years, working in emergency care, and I had worked really hard. All the training exams and stuff that they wanted to do, I was on them, and I'd worked my way up to deputy sister. In that role, you would have been in charge of a small team during the day in an area, responsible for all of the bed movement, the bed managers, and making sure people were going to their scheduled appointments, managing that wee team of nurses, their breaks, and supporting them, and new nurses. You'd have taught them everything you knew. Spent a lot of the time in resus, to be fair, and come near the end. And some of them were like wee new nurses, and never looked after maybe a sick baby or something before, so I spent a lot of time looking after sick kids, stuff like that. Anyway, great job, loved it. But I knew God was telling me to leave. I knew probably for about a year. There was a stirring inside me that I wasn't happy. And then I would walk about going, I'm stuck here because I'm dual trained, and where am I going to get a job that is going to give me both adults and children in the same workplace? And then I would be like, oh, if I went here to work, that means that they would be adults only, so I could just do like a shift in the children's ward, and that would get me my hours, and then I would fret about that, and then I would think to myself again, oh, if I went here to work, that would be like with children, so I could just go back to A&E and do like a shift in the adult side. That would give, and I was coming up with all these scenarios in my head, and then I was like, this is just going to be so much effort, like I can't make this my life. Excuse me. I can't make this my life on how to work. Like I'm already working too many hours, and this is why my life's a disaster. And it was part of it, was I was working too much and leaning on my own understanding about money becoming a god, and work became a god, and anyway, it was all wrong, and God wanted me to make it all right. So when I had gone back to work, my head was all over the place, to be fair. I was so broken, but I knew I was sicker at home than I was going to work. The first couple of days in work was horrendous. I was so upset, I was crying, I'd take myself off all the time. I'd have like panic attacks, and it was wild. It was so bad. It was so bad. Like it was so bad. And now I have empathy for people that like are so panicked for no reason, and like I would have been triaging a child, and I would have to go away into another room. It was a complete demonic attack, like, and I'll probably do a video on that on itself, because I've never experienced anything like that in my life, and it's worth talking about for people that are going through that. So I'll leave that there. And anyway, I knew it was time to go. Time to get out. It's really foggy in Northern Ireland today. How do I get my... There we go. I literally cannot see the lights in front of me. There's a car in front, that's the only thing I can say. It's so foggy. I'm sure you can probably see. Anyway, so I'm walking about. I knew God's telling me to get out, and then I had this real stirring in myself, like I need to get out of here, this is not right for me. And I would walk up and down the corridors. I'd got myself back with God, right with God at this time, and the verse in my head is seek the Lord with all your heart and lean on your own understanding. So seek Him, like constantly pray, constantly ask Him first. So I started getting into a routine of this. Lord, where do you want me to go? last couple of months, like before my life blew up, I knew I needed, I know now that was the Holy Spirit was stirring me to get out of here. And there is no point me looking. If you want me out of here, these were my prayers, like as bold as this. If you want me out of here, you need to find me a job. You know what I need. You know I need a job where I look after children and adults. And you know, all along I had this stirring in my spirit about like primary care, like taking all the skills that I had and going out and running my own wee clinic. And I knew they'd done like asthma, and I was like, you probably see some kids there, and that was in my head. And then I'd be like, what am I doing talking about going out to general practice, out into community? I work in a hospital. I work really hard to get here. I work in a hospital. I'm a hospital nurse. Always believed it. Never wanted to do anything else. Anyway, and then I would just push them to the back of my mind. That must have happened to me 2 or 3 times. And I just was like, what am I thinking? Literally got rid of it, got rid of the thought. So I'm praying, I'm walking up and down the corridors in A&E, knowing in my heart God wanted me out of there. And I was like, right, I'm willing to go. I am willing to go. I will go, but find me a job. Because in the middle of all this, I applied for a job, and this all happened. Like, whenever you're in a really like a crisis situation or traumatic situation, you start to like clutch at straws. You start to make your life work. You try to fix everything. People like shave their head, people dye their hair, they try to transform their outer image instead of inside their heart. That's where you're going wrong. You need to transform your heart, not your body. By transforming your heart and your spirit, and it'll transform your mind, and then everything else will flow out of that. So I'm going, Lord, where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? But I'd applied for prison service. So I'm trying to fix this all myself. And my friend was up in the prison, and one of my old bosses was there, and they were like, yeah, come ahead. And I knew fine rightly I'd probably get the job because they can't get nurses to work in prison. And I was like, that'll be good. That's something completely different. Something completely different. And I was like, I'll be like Paul. Let's go to prison and preach to the prisoners. That was not the plan that God had for my life. So, but I applied for it, and all the while, in my mind, I'm like, don't do this in your own strength, Emma. And you need to seek God, seek God, seek God. Right, that's the diesel in the car. So at this time, I had such a fear of the Lord, like no joke. I didn't want to do anything wrong at all. I wanted to do everything right that He was asking me to do. So then I was like, do I apply for this job, or like, is this completely wrong? Or I didn't really know what to do. I was like, Lord, what's right here? And I just kept hearing in my head, like, go forward, go forward, go forward. And I was like, right, well look, listen. This is me talking to God. I was like, I'm going to apply for this job, so I'm going to keep going forward. I'm going to try. You know, if I don't go forward and try things, like, how am I going to know? So I applied for the job, and my prayers become, Lord, close every door that is not for me, and open doors that you want me to go through, and make it so obvious, Lord, that I won't be able to say no. And I'd pray this for like a couple of weeks, and I'm going around A&E, and I'm walking in the corridors, and I'm praying to myself, and I'm going, Lord, I know you don't want me here anymore. I know you're going to make a way, and I know you're going to move me a job, you're going to give me, I'm going to know. That's how foggy it is. I'm going to know. It's going to be so obvious. I would start to like claim this, then I'd start to say this, and I'm leaving here, and you know, it wasn't like I hate this place. It wasn't that. It wasn't I hate this job, get me out of here. It wasn't that. I just knew God was telling me it was time to go. And seasons change, and all good things come to an end, I suppose. Well, not all good things, but some good things. And it was good for a time and a season. And anyway, it was not the be all and end all. And it's time to go. So I applied for the prison. my ship. But in the flesh, I'm like, what's going on? This is horrendous. It's terrible. Look what's happened to me. Blah blah blah. And my son gets really sick. I pick him up from like a Asian fast food place over in Belfast with his friends. And I was sitting in the car outside, and I'm watching him inside the shop. And he comes out and he gets in the car and he's fine. And I was like, oh, did you enjoy that, Christian? You know, being out with your friends and whatnot. And he says, yeah, it was really nice, Mum. And no sooner had he sat his bum in the car, and I'm ready to pull off, and he says to me, stop the car, Mum. And he opens the door and he projectile vomits out the back of the car. And I was like, what the heck? And he was like, oh, and his colour was draining. Like his blood pressure was not okay, and his colour was draining, and he was just vomiting everywhere. And I was like, there is no way on God's earth you've got food poisoning, because you've literally just ingested that, and like it's all come back up. Like your body hasn't even digested it. And I was like, what is going on? Like, and I thought, oh, I just didn't agree with him, so that's okay. We set off for home, and every couple of minutes he was like, Mum, pull over. I'm like, I have to go on the motorway. So I went into the back of the boot, and I had bags there, and I said to him, like, Christian, you know, we need to go on the motorway here to get you home, and I can't be pulling over on the motorway, so you need to be sick in the bag. So he's vomiting the whole way home, vomiting. It was not good. And he'd get into home and get into bed, and he was vomiting again, and this went on for about 12, 13 hours. I actually, God forgive me, I actually took the dogs out for a walk and everything, thinking like it would settle. I'm supposed to be a nurse. And it didn't settle, so I started to get a wee bit, I don't know what's going on here. Why is this continuous vomiting? Continuous. It's been going on now for hours. This was like the afternoon, and now we're hitting 9, 10 o'clock at night. And anyway, so the very next day is the interview for that job for the prison. And I'm sitting in his room, and I'm like, I know I probably need to take him to hospital, but I really don't want to go back to work. It's my day off. And I'm supposed to be working a late shift the day after. So he started at 2, and I had my job interview in the morning. And it was in a different city. And I'm like, I don't want to take him to hospital. And he sat up, and my kid, like this son is really sick, and he never asked me to take him to hospital. And he sat up and he says, Mum, this pain in my stomach is killing me. It's so sore. I need you to take me to hospital. I need you to take me now. And I was like, never tells me to take him to hospital. And I was like, you sure? Because in my mind, I'm going to this interview. And when he spoke to me, it was just like that. Something was like, you prayed for the doors closing. The door is closed. You're not going. You're not going to the interview. I sat in the chair and I stared at him. And I was like, okay, Lord, I hear you. I'm not going. This job is not for me. I'm not to go there. So I packed Christian's bag up, took him to the hospital. He got some fluids, got some medication, got a sickness cell. We were there all night. Interview was at like 9 in the morning. I was not making it there at all, and I just sent an email with apologies saying my son was sick. We were in the hospital because I didn't want to tell lies, and that wasn't a lie. And I just did an apologise to the interview panel and not making it. It's fine. So I applied for another job in a different prison, and they had actually phoned me like a week or two later asking me to come up for interview, and I just knew there and then I declined it. I was like, she'd rang me actually, which is unusual because they usually send you an email, and I just said no, I'm no longer interested in that job, and it was too far away to travel, and I just knew God was closing that door. And she was very lovely and very nice, and she was grand. If you ever be interested again, apply again. And I was like, thank you, dead on, great. This is why while I'm cutting my grass in my garden. I had a lovely wee conversation with her actually, and then that was that. And I was like, right Lord, we're back to the drawing board. You've closed that door. Where am I going? Where am I going, and where are you taking me to? Because I'm not applying for any more jobs. That was literally it. I was like, I'm not applying for another job. You told me this isn't right. Okay, I hear you. I haven't went there. I've continued to work in A&E, but I know you want me out of here. Where are we going? Where are we going? And I would just leave it. I just left it with God. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And every time I was in A&E, the scriptures that come to me was work like you're working for God and not for other people, and be a good steward and be on time and do things that are right, live a righteous life. So that was fine. I would go to work and I would do the best that I could, and I was still heartbroken. I was still all over the place. It wasn't great, but I knew time was coming. God was going to bring me a job. So one Wednesday morning, I was off. It was a Wednesday, wasn't it? And I got up in the morning. There was a text message on my phone from this agency I worked for. The agency paid me very, very well, and I hadn't had a shift in about 2 years. No joke off them, because with COVID, NHS had withdrawn a lot of their money, and they weren't paying agency. And do you know, even if those shifts had been there, I'd have been away off doing those shifts, working on my own strength, earning all the money to keep my family afloat, and was not trusting God. But God was really teaching me in this season to trust Him, really, really trust Him, like with everything, finances, living within my means, praying to Him first, asking Him everything. So now I know in my heart, if there's something I need, I pray to God, and He will bring that person, whatever they have, whether it's like a mentor, whether it's finances, whether it's a relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's a job, money for a bill. God brings it every time. I don't go looking, God brings it every time. This has been well tried and tested for the past year now, and I was really like leaning in and really seeking Him. So I got this message, and it said, could you go to this place to do a shift? And in my mind I kept thinking, like, I had worked there before, and how lovely the nurses were. They were older, they were like good wee women, no gossip out of them, big buns, always felt very welcome, got on with them very well. It was just lovely. It was a delight to go to work with them, and the job was kind of easy, and there was no stress. It was a good wee variety job, and there was no stress. And I was like, this kept popping into my head too about these nurses, but I knew they'd retired and what was going on, like it had all changed. So in my mind I was like, I wonder what's going on down there in that treatment room. But there was never any shifts. So this day they got the text message, and in my mind I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on there. And I was like, no Lord, I know that you don't want me working extra, so I'm not going to work extra. But in my mind it was like, go, answer. I was like, and I sat on the edge of my bed, and I'm still not without stress. I had to take my kids to school, and I said to God, if this is you and you want me to go here today, send another message. And as soon as that came out of my mouth, another message came through. This is no lie. This is no lie. And I was like, what the heck? So I opened the message, and it was for this treatment room again. And I was like, right, I'm gonna have to ring, aren't I? So I rang, and like as the phone was ringing, I was gonna like hang up. And before I went to hang up, the guy answered. practices, just in case anybody's American and listening. A GP practice, GP stands for General Practitioner, so I'm sure I think you would call it like your registered physician is basically your own named doctor within your local community, and that's responsible for your care. So like primary care, we would call it. Secondary care is hospital, tertiary care would be like nursing home or rehabilitation, things like that there. So this is general practice. I'm coming out of the hospital into the community, into general practice, completely different and far less stressful. You know, people aren't dying the way they try to die in the hospital. That's all I will say about that. So I go up and everybody's hello, hi, and there's a wee room in there and all the paperwork's there, and immediately lies start to come in. What if you don't know how to do this job today? Now, I am not dissing anybody's job, because there's wee specialties that treatment room nurses do, like wounds and things like that there, that we wouldn't do in the hospital in emergency care. I mean, I would slap something on it, but I'm not going to treat that. I'll get either a tissue viability nurse or a nurse in the ward would be better at that. But I actually was pretty good at this, and I would have been able to do it in A&E as well. So I had been taught by the district nurses in my practice placements before I qualified how to like dress a leg, how to dress wounds, how to use the wound formulary, and I had sort of worked on a part of that team a wee bit in A&E about tissue viability or skin, and so my A&E job is I'm just going to say it was far more skilled, far harder, far more stressful, far more responsibility, and treatment room nursing was just lovely. It was just lovely, and it was no problem to me to do blood samples. It was no problem to me to do an ECG. It was no problem to me to dress a wound. I had all those skills, and I was like, I quickly looked through all of the paperwork. I was like, oh, like imposter syndrome, and it was like weights and heights. I was like, seriously? And I was like, Lord, you're just going to give me a wee easy day today in this treatment room, because this is maybe all I'm really able to do right now, work it extra. And it was great. I was there for like 4 hours, and there was a few hard blood samples on children and stuff, like people had really traumatic experiences before. They were up to high dose, the kids were really nervous, like there was tears, everything, and I just reassured them and was very gentle with them, and got all the blood samples, didn't miss one, thank God, and everything went fine. But when this was going on, people were going back out to the treatment room, or back out of the treatment room to the main reception, and were like, I was mortified. She's brilliant. You need to hire her. You know, and I could hear them, and I was like, oh, shut up. I was mortified, absolutely mortified. Anyway, I just went on with my job, and I had realised they'd got an hour for their break, but because I couldn't make in on time, the GP practice had cancelled a load of their patients, because I couldn't come till like 10 o'clock or something. So they had cancelled a ton, and I felt really bad. I was like, I'm here for 4 hours, I'm not entitled to a break. We could maybe recall some of these patients back. So I went out and I said to one of the girls at the desk, I was like, are all these patients cancelled today? And she was like, yeah. I was like, because I couldn't do the hours. And she was like, well, yeah, but like that's just what happens, Emma. Whereas like in A&E, that would not have happened, and like you stayed and until everybody was turned out, you know, it was like the grind. And I thought, right, well, I wonder would any of those patients like to come back in, because I'm only here for 4 hours, I'm not entitled to a lunch. I've had something to eat before I come in. I'll just like work over this and see the patients. And all the while the GP was standing beside me, the lead GP that owned the practice was standing beside me listening to me, and I felt him there, and I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't think I'm being bossy or like trying to tell him what to do. And the girl was like, oh yeah, no problem, I'll contact them. And a couple of people did come up over the lunch break, and I was able to catch up on all of their Because all I could think of is, do you know whenever you book the day off and to go to the appointment and then they cancel and you're like, I booked this day off annual leave, and it's really annoying and it just upsets your whole day where you could have been in work and, you know. Anyway, so that was fine. I worked through it, and the GP came in to me later that afternoon and he said to me, Emma, where do you work? And he started asking me all these questions, and I was like, but he stood against the door frame and he was like staring at the ground and he was holding back whatever it was he wanted to say. And immediately, just as suddenly, I could feel the Holy Spirit in the room, because I knew what he felt like, and I could feel it in the room. And it was tangible. I could have took a knife and I could have cut it. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, Lord, what is happening? And all I could hear was, be quiet and just smile. Just smile and wait. Smile and wait. It was nearly like God was like, wait till you see this, Emma. And I'm looking at this GP and I'm like this. Like a grin on my face. I'm just looking at him, waiting for him to speak. I didn't talk. I sat at the desk and I'm just looking. And it felt like an eternity before he turned around and he said, would you apply for a job here? And just like that, I was like, there it is. There it is. This is where God wants me to move to. And I was bold and I said to him, now, look, doctor, I'm not going to leave my band 6 position in the hospital. Do you know, because like, I worked for it all on my own strength. And God was like, no. I'm not going to leave there, you know, unless I get the same pay or more. And he went, and or I need the hours. I need the 30 hours I work. And he was like, yeah, we can do that. And he was like, do you have any extra courses? And I was like, you know what? I'm on a diabetic course that I had just started in September. And this was October. And yeah, that was October. Something just came to mind there. Anyway, and he gave me a pay rise, a fantastic pay rise. I'm gonna get this car into this straight line. A really good pay rise. He gave me the 30 hours, and basically by the time I had got my job, it was the same amount of money as I was on before, because I was in shift allowance. So I wasn't getting shift allowance because this was like 9 to 5 or like 9 to half 1, and it worked out the same money. So I didn't take a pay cut because then I was worried about my mortgage going up and doing all this stuff on my own and affording my bills. So I got the 30 hours I needed. I got still working the part-time. I got a Wednesday off, so I worked a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. No night shifts, no weekends, and I done a wee half day Friday. And the wee treatment room, you're set up in your own room, and bank holidays off. They give me sick leave, they give me maternity, all that, all those benefits you get in the hospital as well. And they were private, so I was going to be employed private. I've come out of the NHS, and I believe God's done that for a reason. I don't know what that reason is now, but I do feel that whatever will be happening in the NHS is maybe going to be unstable or something. That's just not where I was meant to be. But they allowed me to keep my NHS pension, so it was just transferred across and I could pay into it, and I didn't lose any of those contributions in the past 20 years. I was working for the NHS because I was doing admin before I done nursing, and so I was worried about that, and that all came across, and I got a cracking package. And I have a lot more courses to go on and a lot more things to do, but it's all been funded by the Department of Health. in primary care for all those courses that I need to complete this job. And I applied for the job. I done the interview. I had no time to prep for the interview. I just said, Lord, you might put the words in my mouth. Don't make this hard. If this job is for me, then this interview will go fine. And it did. I went in with a cup of tea in my hand. They interviewed me. It was very straightforward. It wasn't hard at all. And then they contacted me, offered me the job. I've never answered an email so quick in my life because I was waiting with anticipation, waiting because I knew this job was for me. There's other people in against me that had more experience. I don't understand how this worked because really the job they offered me was underqualified with all of the I just needed to do other stuff. Like I couldn't do cervical smears and things like that, so there's courses I need to be on to complete all those competencies. So I'm back at university. I never got out of uni, and I do like studying, so God knows I can handle it, and it's all paid for, and I just work a lovely job and there's no stress. And you know, within 5 to 6 months of being there, so I got offered the job in October, no interviews in October, and yeah, I think was the interview maybe the start of December, but I didn't start until the January and the end of the January, but I actually started at the start of the January because they allowed me to do shifts through the agency, and then started permanently at the end of January. And new beginnings for a new year. It's unbelievable how it all worked, and that's only the half of it, because the conversation I had with the GP, I'll maybe do another video because it's just, there's so much detail in it that I could not have argued that it wasn't God. So I suppose the lesson out of that is don't go seeking things. Like I always say, ask God and He will bring it to you. And He brought me my job. And I don't know how long I'm going to be there, but I feel like it's for a good long time because I'm not the person that like leaves jobs and runs about. So yeah, I'll maybe do a second part of this just to explain exactly like the conversations that we had and the package that I got.